person has sovereign control of their body, their destiny. I begin by saying you're born free. All the freedoms you can imagine. Do I want to get up and brush my teeth? It's up to me. Do I want to just stay in bed all day and do no work? It's up to me. I live with the consequences of the decisions I make, but I'm free to make them.
Yes.
Because we live together in society, in community, it becomes necessary to have some shared values and rules. Because while I am enjoying my freedom, it is not okay for me to interfere with your freedom. So the road is warm and I want to sleep on the road because I'm cold. I can't just lie across the road knowing that other people have to traverse the road. So we set up rules that govern the use of public spaces, and they apply to human beings because I've often seen animals lying on the road. If you go to Niggerl in the night, there was a time when you're bound to meet a cow lying on the
For the
road
warmth today, yes.
for the warmth
the
that comes from the
surface.
asphalt.
Yeah.
So and birds don't care if it's a hotel table or a tree with berries in the bush. If a bird sees food, they come and they take it. As I've often seen them competing with us for mangoes. If a mango fall from the tree, the lizard, the bird, the rats, everybody have free reign.
Well,
None of the rules that we set up about
yes.
trespass apply in
Right.
that domain.
Truly
Applies,
free.
they are free.
Mhm.
We're born with the same
Yes.
freedom.
Yes.
And if you look in the animal kingdom again, you will see what happens when people have to compete, when creatures have to compete for the same resources. You see one flock of bird chase out another one, or you'll see animals marking their territory and defending the borders so no one can cross it.
It is interesting. I
Same way.
remember when that development up on the hill there,
Long Mountain.
Long Mountain,
Aha,
yes, and the people
yeah.
went up there to live, and
Yeah.
the creatures and animals and all sorts of things who wasn't accustomed to houses
In
being
their
placed in their
environment.
natural
Yes.
habitat,
Yeah.
and so they proceeded to
They just
move this,
continued.
whatever. So people were finding all sorts of things in their houses. So
Yeah,
that's the nature of things.
That's
That's
really
the nature of
good
things.
example of how it works.
Yes.
I mean, I remember living in a new development in a different country. They had just cut out a piece of the hillside and put some beautiful apartments in there. Every morning I woke up with scorpions, all of the night creatures that crawl about. They might have said, "Oh, this feels different. The
Yes.
surface feels different," but I was afraid to get out of my bed and like even just walk to the bathroom barefooted. I
Wow.
started to have nightmares about sitting on a scorpion on the toilet
Wow.
seat or
Yes.
stepping on one because you only need to step on something once to know that when you put your foot down, you're not sure what's going to be under it until one yields control to the other.
Yes.
Because sometimes the animals can be so committed to their customary ways that man have to retreat. So
now you see that just laws will never do it,
No.
because we know we can never be truly free in that sense, because if you do that, then you know that's going to be a problem. And so you go right back to scripture.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you talk about your neighbor, loving your neighbor as yourself, doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And the truth is, if you live by those principles, it makes life easier.
so therein lies the freedom, because Christ says, "I release you from the bondage of sin, so that you can be enslaved to the law of righteousness."
Right.
Because under the law of righteousness, the love that is in your heart causes you to freely choose to give and to show care and to be kind and be concerned, and a number of the things which we do to one another in competition for scarce resources. We wouldn't even think of doing it because we'd be wanting to share those scarce resources and bring about a multiplication. It's only when you share that things multiply. If you're fighting for it and creating havoc over it, it begins to look smaller and smaller, and you have to expend more and more energy to defend it against those who have a similar desire for it. So, we're talking about, we started talking about laws and the Constitution, and we've wandered off into a place that I like to dwell in that place. I love to dwell in the place where I am seeking alignment with what it is that the Creator ordained.
Yes.
How did He want it to
Yes.
flow?
Yes.
Because I know that if we can meet that standard, it will be better for all of us because it was designed to operate effectively. You know,
Yes.
this morning you were saying something to me about the car, and I was just thinking that if something is out of order with a machine, it must have other consequences.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because remember, all the parts are designed to work together.
So if one of them is failing in some regards, or you are trying to make it do something that it was not designed to do, you're going to throw the whole system out of whack. So I spend a lot of time considering how it is that we can bring things into greater alignment with what the designer had in mind. Because I know that way it will work well. So we talk about Jamaica and her relations with foreigners, foreign countries. Sure, you're going to see more and more things like a clerical error causing something to work in a different way. And because the pride of man, you know, there are some areas of weaknesses that you can press all the time and get result. If you challenge man in his reputation, in his dignity, you are bound to get a response. Not saying what kind of response, but you're bound to get a response, depending on the power of the people at the table. You can predict what the response will be, but our prime minister, it's a very small-minded, petty thing for our prime minister to be treated with disfavor in an airport. He is always, the office of prime minister means something for all Jamaicans, for the nation itself. So there should be no issue that should cause the prime minister to be treated less than customary.
Right.
None.
Agreed, yes. And we should never, not because you might feel a particular way about the person, always respect the office.
The office.
Always respect the office. And if others are allowed to treat your leaders in that way, then it says something about how your country will be treated and how you, by extension, will be treated. So therefore, it is something that we should demand.
Yeah, man, it's unacceptable. Well, I certainly hope that the Minister of Foreign Affairs will deal with it swiftly and brutally.
Well, that's another story, but I hope so too.
Yeah, it has made the headline. It says Holness's unusual airport walk due to Jamaican embassy error.
Jamaican, okay.
Amid reports
protocol
that Prime Minister Andrew Holness was recently forced to enter the United States without the usual benefits afforded heads of government and other diplomats, the Gleaner has been informed that while there was an unusual occurrence on July 15th, it was due to an internal error within the Jamaican embassy and not because of any supposed row between the nations. Who's buying that? Addressing the concern, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, acknowledged that the Prime Minister did indeed take an irregular route through transportation, TSA, at an airport in Florida, but that he was not subjected to a search or asked to remove his jacket or shoes, as has been rumored. Under normal circumstances, the Prime Minister would have been escorted through a private area of the airport. The incident, Johnson-Smith pointed out, was due to a clerical error made by an employee of the Jamaican embassy and not the result of any action taken by the United States government. She said she would be receiving a report on the matter, which was being taken seriously. She should lose her work.
Clerical error? What is that?
Listen to me. Well, you and I have traveled under diplomatic coverage before, yes?
Geez, yeah.
Let's say it. Well, one was quite humorous, but the other one was real. Let me tell you, when a head of state, even just to come on the airplane, there is a lot of protocol involved and everybody knows it. A head of state on your airplane, deplaning, whatever the situation might be, even if the Jamaican government dropped the ball, the US government and the staff in immigration and so on, they all know the protocol.
Can never happen.
Let's take our break while we mull over
Should
that one.
never happen,
I saw I saw the engineer give us a look.
Yes, and I'm not there to help you this morning.
No, in fact, no, you're on the other side.
Okay.
We'll be right back at 7 o'clock.
Best FM 100.5 on your dial. Keep listening.
When we hear the word summer, most of us automatically think of sea, sand, and relaxation. But the period is also a vulnerable time for many of Jamaica's youth. Diane Gordon Harrison, Children's Advocate of Jamaica, explains that the arrival of summer often brings increased access to children for persons who mean them harm.
Children tend to be more vulnerable during the summer months because of the lack of structure that oftentimes accompanies what summer holidays really symbolize. So, for example, schools are not in session, and you know that schools are not only learning institutions, but also social institutions that provide structure and some amount of control and limits the access that persons who may mean children harm have to them. And so with the holidays, it increases the access that those who don't mean them well have.
She adds that the increased free time that comes with summer holidays also has disadvantages.
And so, you know, that adage about the devil finding work for idle hands, it can be translated to mean that sometimes children find themselves in situations that they are exploring innocently, and persons with malintent take advantage of them.
A recent breakdown of the data derived from the National Safe Spot Children's Helpline showed that most of the contacts were females. Portland is the only parish where more boys were making reports. Mrs. Gordon Harrison says this data has implications for the level of gender-based violence occurring in the country.
So in Jamaica, for instance, we have females who are predominantly showing up as victims of sexual violence. And then, of course, on the male side, we have physical violence being something that they feature greatly in. Many times, a girl is targeted for sexual abuse because she's female. And that, in essence, is a human rights violation. And it can have really long-lasting impact on a victim.
Mrs. Gordon Harrison is encouraging youngsters who are experiencing difficulties to contact the Safe Spot helpline. Safe Spot is a 24-hour toll-free line that provides counseling to children and teenagers who require mental, emotional, and social well-being assistance. It is staffed by intake officers, volunteers, counselors, and counseling psychologists. Children make reports by calling the helpline at 888-723-3776 or sending messages via the online platforms at SafeSpotJA on WhatsApp, BIP, Instagram, and Snapchat. She notes that the staff at SafeSpot have received specialized training in gender-based violence to equip them to adequately respond to the needs of children.
The training is being conducted by the Prevention of Sexual Exploitation and Abuse consultant who is attached to UNICEF, who is eminently qualified, therefore, to deliver it. And so far, we have gone through 3 2-hour sessions each. We have 1 to go. The first session focused on understanding the whole concept of gender-based violence. Session 2 focused on the psychosocial effects of gender-based violence. And section 3 focused on integrating pathways. And we have 1 more session to go, which I know will be just as impactful and will serve to continue to sharpen the skill sets of the counseling team at Safe Spot so that we can continue to provide optimal support and responses that are practical and relevant to children in Jamaica who reach out to Safe Spot.
Children's Advocate of Jamaica, Diane Gordon Harrison. That's it for today's feature. Thanks for listening. I'm Joy Kelly.
As it used to be more.
Are you or anyone you know in need of a birth certificate, earning minimum wage and born in Jamaica? Visit your Member of Parliament's office or any of the Registrar General's Department offices island-wide and request assistance under the Operation Birthright program. For more information on Operation Birthright or to see whether you are eligible under the program, visit nidsfax.com or rgd.gov.jm. Conditions apply.
A production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
Half a tree, one and drive, half a tree. Bossy, away I do I take taxi start?
Chano, I want to tell you, say, 2 months now, my transmission mash up, and me check everybody and can't hear nothing positive.
Yeah, hear me? Yeah, waste all that time I shop around and never call the experts. Winters Auto have them. Them have over 35 years of experience and them diagnose the problem.